You know, when I was preparing this talk, I wanted to fit Mother Teresa in. There we have it. Thank you. Because she speaks love like no other saint.
Those were her words.
Yeah.
Write that music.
Yeah. Those were her words. I recognized them from her prayers. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Yesterday was a lot of fun. I don't know what came over me, but I was spending money like I was Rockefeller or something. I'll buy that, I'll buy that, I'll buy 2 of those, 3 of those. I got home and then I thought, I think your pledge is due too. But no, I didn't let anything clamp down because there's an abundance. And it was all pure joy. It was a lot of fun, a lot of fun. So I'm here to talk about the perfect relationship. So the invitation for you as I share this wisdom is to reflect your own heart. Keep allowing the words to bounce into your heart space and give back out into the world. It's the beautiful reading that Damien shared with you, Divine Love Flows Through Me. Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker were very strong teachers of New Thought movement. And so they were able to really take into prayer this idea of this relationship with the divine in such a way that it personalized it. So I particularly appreciate the way Damien read this. I know it was a long reading, but it captured everything. It summed up everything that I hope to share with you today, because the idea of this perfect relationship is really love the one you're with. I think there's a song, isn't there, about that? Love the one you're with. Love the one you're with. Yeah, you would know that, wouldn't you? Love the one you're with. And it doesn't necessarily mean your partner. It means whoever you're sitting next to. Love the one you're with. Love the one you're next to. Reach out in your heart and recognize you're never alone. There's always someone in your vicinity that is calling for the love, and you want to be that example of love, as the beautiful song of Mother Teresa, the prayers of her heart, sing to us. Now, when in the teaching a long time ago, I remember Reverend Dr. James Golden sharing, you can love everybody. And I thought, I don't like everybody. But I kept trying. I kept trying to take that wisdom, and I've heard that from many teachers, not just Reverend James, but from many people. And I've worked it. I've worked it because I recognize those moments where I have contracted my heart space. I have work to do. It's not necessarily the other that needs to change, but I need to change from within. So as I speak this today, you can continue to inquire that question to yourself. Can you love everyone? Can we? Can you? And this is the call. This is the call today for this divine love that is calling for us to care and to love the one right there next to you. It's the bubble of the moment. It's the experience of the moment. So it is our not a job, our soul call. It's our soul call to invest ourselves in this heart space. We want to work, and that's what we do as we come to services, as we take classes, as we share together in intimacy in the classes and tell the truth, tell the deep truth to each other. We're doing the work on ourselves to be the best that we can, to own ourselves, and to be the person that someone would want to associate with. And in order to do that, you need to really look deeply into yourself and see your own self, see yourself through your own eyes, and clear the surface of your own heart. And that is your spiritual practice. That is what is set before you. This practice of seeing your inner radiance. And you might pause and think, my inner radiance. We are born with the divine seed, and we call it the soul. We're born with that soul force, longing to be merged with love itself. And so we go through lifetime seeking that. For generations past, it has been the mission of every religion that has been developed. Every mystic, every poet has touched upon this divine love and has brought it forward. It's the call to practice devotion. And what is devotion? When you recognize, do I practice any sort of devotion? Or I just kind of move through my chores? Am I just living sort of day to day, just kind of doing routines? Or do I begin my day with a holy breath and a holy word to the one love that will inspire me and lead me? Do I allow that leading to be from my heart space throughout every day? And as I close my eyes, do I send a blessing out into the world? Forgive me for what I have done unskillfully, and empower me to be filled with love as I dream through my dreams and awake in the morning. May I be that loving force. May I be that vehicle. May the divine continue to flow through me as me. May I practice devotion. This complements the quieting of the mind. When you quiet the mind, the heart opens. Ram Dass is a fabulous teacher of this truth, and he bridges the East and the West of the teachings of this source. And he was devoted to his guru, the Maharaji. And he meditated the way Christ meditated. He lost himself in love. He goes on to say, the outflowing of the heart toward an object of our devotion further polishes the mirror reflecting the spirit. This flow of loving energy amplifies the bhakti, the love of God, the essence of all your spiritual practices. We speak of that. We have the invitation for you always to practice, whether it's Tai Chi or yoga or the practice of meditation, the presence process through music, so many ways. The invitation is for you to find a practice that serves your heart and devote yourself to that. Let it be the bhakti. Let it be the essence of your practice. When we are present in the practice, in that moment of the quiet mind and the open heart, we experience that divine flow. We allow that divine flow to be that which moves through our spiritual heart, and we are divinely inspired. All we can do is love. So this path of devotion that I speak of, I speak from my understanding of some of the teachings of the East. And the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible, those two texts, spiritual texts, are two of the most common books that the masters carry with them. There's even word that Jesus spent some time in India learning the Vedantic way. And some of that you can read, you can see some of those teachings outpouring in some of the ways that Jesus spoke to his people in that time. And so one of my favorite teachers that I have been studying for a lifetime has been Ramakrishna, and through Ramakrishna is Vivekananda. So the lineage is always carried through, and whenever you're studying an Indian master. So Ramakrishna was very popular in India at his time. This is way back in the early 1800s, very popular teacher. Vivekananda became his student. And what I appreciated about Vivekananda is he chose a way. He chose a way that is described in the Bhagavad Gita, and I'll share just this phrase because there's different ways that we can adore the divine. And so in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a chapter that is the path of love, and that's what we're speaking to today. And you know, it's a story, the Bhagavad Gita is a story about Arjuna and Krishna. And so there's always a dialogue going on between the two of them, the devotee and the teacher. And so Arjuna speaks, And he is the one seeking the information. And he said, my interest is aroused now, but I have a question. You say the only way by unswerving love and worship can a devotee attain oneness with God. But some worship the invisible, the formless God. Now, some of you in here might do that. There might be an invisible, formless God. That is where you take your prayers to. And that is where you feel the most comfortable in that seat. But some worship the visible God in a form. In which of these two aspects, he asks, is easiest? Which will melt your heart more? And Krishna, the master teacher, says, I am pleased with either path. Worshipping the one without form, he says, is the more challenging. When you take the worship of form in the Brahman, which is the Godhead, you can see what is right before you at that point. You can set your heart steadily on something that is visible, some visible aspect of me. So what does that mean when you feel this devotion, when you do your practice and you set up an altar? And it could be an altar of your great teachers. It could be an altar of flowers, a candlelight. It could be something that you feel takes form, and it holds your attention, it holds your heart. He goes on to say, setting your heart steadily on the visible aspect of me, being God, and becoming saturated with devotion and faith will lead you quickly and surely to me, to the Godhead. And those that worship the other way, without form or name, if they truly subdue their senses, maintain a calm mind, and work for the good of all beings, they also come to me. But realize that it's a difficult path to take something that's indefinable and unmanifested, invisible, and not materialized, because then you have nothing to entertain the senses. So to me, I ponder that. The Bhagavad Gita is something that you read and you wonder, well, what do I worship? What do I call my God? What really is my God? When Ernest Holmes speaks, God is, and I am, what is? What is that which is entertaining this heart space? What is that I'm longing for? And he goes on to say, the devotees of the non-materialized God have a steep climb. It is extremely difficult for a person in a physical form to really understand the formless. Ordinary people identify themselves with their own physical body and cannot help but conceptualize God as also being in some sort of body. To deeply love the formless God, one must be free from one's own body and consciousness, and this state is not attainable by many. But keep in mind, Arjuna, worshiping the divinity in a form will help you. Those whose ultimate aim is for full liberation must sooner or later give up that attachment. But without this stage of a development, you're struggling, trying to grasp that. So if you've been on the journey, the reason I read that, it's heavy text, but I want to share that the base, the idea of this bhakti, this devotion, this perfect relationship with the divine. Maybe you have that, and you can entertain that as you go into meditation. Your senses withdraw so beautifully that you're able to really center on that divine light. And so I share that because Vivekananda walked that path. Now his master teacher, Ramakrishna, walked the path of the devotion to the Holy Mother. So he poured his heart into a form. Do you follow that? And so here's two ways from the Bhagavad Gita, from this teaching, two ways to find the link of your own heart to the divine. So your invitation as well is find yours. And so the path and the journey of the teacher and the student. Vivekananda was so steadfast. He starts his journey as a young boy playing with the light in his mind. He would play with it and watch it as he would dream his dreams. And then as he understood meditation, he started to live in the light. The light was never dampened. He walked in the light, that divine light, always. And that's what Ramakrishna recognized in him and called him forth as his student, as one of his favorite students. And he always knew that there would be a time where Vivekananda would blend these two pathways of the formless and the form and understand it all. So this book that I studied recently, God Lived with Them, is a whole lineage of the monastic order of Ramakrishna. And it starts off with just starting with Vivekananda. So Vivekananda, knowing this, knowing these tools, and he didn't have just like this easy, spiritual, fluffy life. He had many challenges because his father died, and he was the eldest. And when you're in India and you're the eldest, you take care of the family. You support the family. And he was longing for this spiritual life. He was longing for that spiritual journey, yet he was called to the family life as well, to take care of his mother and his brothers. And so he struggled. He struggled. It wasn't easy. And he had to walk away a lot from his studies from Ramakrishna. And then there was a time when he realized he could do it no more. The struggle was too intense. So he came back. He came back into starting his own order. There is such a testimony of this man's life, and he had vision. He had vision that he would bring the teachings of the East to the West. So in the year 1890, he came to the World Parliament of Religions. And that wasn't easy for him either, but he had a vision. It was his to do. It was his to take this message forth. And in that calling, he got a standing ovation at the Parliament. When he walked in, he was dressed in his beautiful Indian garb, in his ochre robes, in his turban. And he says, "My brothers and sisters of America." And everybody just rose to their feet. Did he say anything that was incredibly extraordinary, different? It was his love, it was his essence, it was his light that just made everybody rise to their feet. And it's sort of funny in the book, it says the women just beelined for him. He had so many women that were so taken by his message. And so it speaks of his journey, bringing the message of this divine love to our understanding of religion in our country at that time. So let me share, there's a piece of that in here. I could read the whole book to you and you'd be, but I'll go towards that piece. "I have a message to the West," he said. Vivekananda, in what he had to share with us, he redefined religion for his Western audience, saying, "You must bear in mind that religion does not consist in talk or doctrines or books, but in realization. It is not learning, but being." So, as I'm reading this, and I've been studying yoga for a lifetime, I thought, he passed away before he's 40. He did all this work before he was 40 years old. And that took a lot of courage at that time. Think about how the means of travel, it's not like he flew a jet here and there. It took a long time, long, hard journeys to continue to be the ambassador of this truth. And so we take that. I honor Vivekananda today. I say, let me take your word and let me speak your word. Let me share this with the community of people who are longing for that connection of the divine in a deeper way. Let it not just be words coming at you. Let yourselves feel that in your heart, this idea of not learning, but being. Being what? Being that divine disciple of truth. So it's practicing devotion, practicing the bhakti. And when we practice that, our mind and our heart and our body become in service to all. Because we have fine-tuned ourselves. We are the instrument then, as St. Francis referred to us. Let us be the instrument of the divine. And when we walk in that walk, we keep our heart space wide open. And sometimes this spiritual space of devotion is evoked through the kirtan, or the chanting, through mystical poetry, through just sitting with this, this beautiful book. God lived with them. When you read these kinds of things, it's like a page turner to me. And then I have to put it down because it's so much for my heart to absorb. But it's remembering the saints, remembering our mantras, remembering scriptures. What will allow you to stay in love, your heart space open? Then, with that space, be with another. Begin your day in that heart space and be with another. Rumi says, the minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along. Isn't that beautiful? You're in each other all along. There's nothing to discover. When you hear that, when it penetrates your heart, there's this emotional moment of truth. And sometimes we're so afraid to let go of our judgy minds and really, really fall in love. But this divine love calls for a faith within us to make it easy to let go. It's different than the romantic love. Relationships will bring up every personal fear you've ever had. It'll bring up every vulnerability you could have ever imagined. But loving God is totally safe because the object of love is ultimately your true self. That's Ram Dass. Ultimately, the one you love is the true self, is this perfection. So as we think about the different stages of love, the sexual love, the romantic love, the personality love of objects, it all can carry the stink of jealousy and possessiveness, but then we move through all that. It's our teacher. It's our teacher. We don't stop and blame that on somebody. We take that and we look at it and we learn from that and we invoke that deeper space inside of us until we turn it into conscious love. You become love. You become love just by being love. And the bhakti, the devotion, focuses that love. It's the soul's love for God. And in the reading that Damien did, it was particularly, there's a piece in there about forgiveness and all of the ways that we just forget the unskillful ways. And I was reading a part from Guru Mai in her reference to this unconditional deep love. And she shared, let your love be free of conditions. And she shared this story. There was a wife who constantly nagged her husband. The husband said, "You told me you had forgiven and forgotten all my mistakes. Why do you keep bringing them up?" And she said, "I have to remind you because I don't want you to forget that I have forgiven and forgotten them." So remember that the next time somebody is reminding you when you thought that was over and it doesn't seem to be, thank you. Because the idea here is to invite you into that space, and I love this idea. I work with it a lot in my own heart space. What would I be without that thought? I thought it up. I'm resisting you. What would I be if I didn't resist you? Where did that come from? What would I be without that? And a whole nother story emerges. That's where I want to live. I want to live in that place where those stories shut down and we just welcome each other. Oh, you think you can hurt me? You can't. My heart's wide open, and I'm polishing it. I'm polishing it. Go ahead, dig in, because I'm just going to give you love back. You know, it's like, wow, can we do that? Can we walk that walk and be like these great saints? Can there be, I would love it, if there's this big volume of this, say, from our center, a bio on all of us, God lived in them. And we turn the page and we read, oh, that's about Kim, that's about Charlie, that's about, wow, all our stories, God lives in us. So we look at the disciples such as Vivekananda, and we recognize, yes, we have met people as well that have been our teachers. And we recognize the incredible truth that these masters are pointing to is such a divine truth. It's the kind of truth where they would be with their teacher, be with their master. They would reach out and touch them and lose consciousness. Just lose consciousness and not even know what just happened. They would just be immersed in this glorious, holy light. And I want us there. We can use this path of knowledge, but the ultimate reality is to go into that place where the soul becomes one with that Brahman, with that Godhead, with that truth. You will always be tested. Everything is a teacher to test you. Vivekananda speaks of that. Ramakrishna tested him often. He would ignore him sometimes, and Vivekananda was undying in his love for Ramakrishna. He would say to him, I love you. I just love you. And every test, he just said, I love you. You don't have to give me anything. I just love you. I don't need your attention. I just love you. So this is the ultimate way. The ultimate way to go out there and serve humanity from this place. I just love you. I just love you. Richard Rohr, in one of his books, The Divine Dance, says, the very nature of God, therefore, is to seek out the deepest possible communion and friendship with every last creature on this earth. That's the job description of God. That's what it's all about. And that's the only thing that can keep you out of this divine dance is fear and doubt or any self-hatred. What would happen in your life right now if you accepted what God has created and even allowed? What would your life be like if you walked out of here today touched by the Master and changed in your heart? Suddenly, this is a very safe universe. You have nothing to be afraid of. God is for you. God is leaping towards you. God is on your side. Honestly, God is on your side more than you are on your own. Richard Rohr. Powerful. So I'm going to invite Judy up to play the music as you go into a meditation by Ram Dass to hold you there, to hold you in this sacred place. And it's called I Am Loving Awareness. So I speak the words of Ram Dass, but I also will speak the words of the divine as it moves into a prayer that flows from my heart to yours. So just allow yourself to be now emerged with your true self. The one next to you is the perfect relationship right next to you. So I am loving awareness. The Atman, the universal soul within all, manifests within you as your individual soul. And that part of you that is wisdom, compassion, joy, love, and peace. Quiet down, dear ones. Go inside to your spiritual heart space. Sink deep, deep into your soul. Concentrate on the middle of your chest. Feel the heart vibrating. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. It's becoming a part of you. Grace, a part of you. Just loving awareness, a part of you. You're breathing, centering in and out. You feel the air. You feel the places in you that is centering. the ocean of the breath. I am loving awareness. This is you, the real you. You are that awareness. You're aware of your eyes, what they see. You're aware of your ears, what they hear. You're aware of your skin and what it feels. You're aware of your mind. The river of thoughts flowing from the mind. They're just thoughts, thoughts, thoughts. Some are positive or negative. Some are about you or others. Some are judging. But you're identified with the loving awareness in your heart. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am. Awareness is not a thing. Loving awareness is one loving awareness. We are all loving awareness. We are all God. We're individual, but we're part of the whole. We are loving awareness. We get to be loving awareness. We get to just be loving awareness. We are that. I am that. Join with me as we have arrived at that place of pure awareness. Feel that heart space. Feel it flutter in the chest wall of your being. An energy, a space that has been touched by the wisdom of Jesus, of the Buddha, of Krishna, of all the saints and sages. They dwell, they have community in your heart space. And you lean in deeper. You are that awareness. And a light emerges from this heart space. And you realize you have a world to serve. Because you will not shut down. You will stay open in service to all mankind. To all mankind, to all animals, to all life. You are this pure awareness. It is infused in you now. It is this heart space. Thank you, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, for the courage to travel so many hundreds of years ago and to never give up. We are listening. We are feeling this divine awareness. This center is evolving its heart into this truth. I give thanks, deep, deep thanks for the awakened hearts in this room. They will not contract. They stay open to serve. For this, I give thanks for the courage that fills us as the awareness carries us. Thank you, God, and so it is. Thank you.